Hey guys, welcome to Blazing Guitars, where we talk about worship gear, music, guitar, and everything in between. My name is Blaze Nelson, and today I wanted to give you 3 tricks and tips that can help you if you are learning the guitar for the very first time. Before we jump into it, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment below and I will get back to you. If you'd like to support what I'm doing on the channel, you can buy any of the things that I'm going to talk about using the Amazon affiliate links below, which just gives me a little bit of a kickback, or you can support me on Patreon, which is linked in the description below. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first tip has to do with your guitar strings. Now this tip is not universal on all guitars. We're specifically talking about steel string acoustic guitars. There are 2 different types of acoustic guitars, the nylon strings and then the steel strings. The nylon strings tend to have holes in the headstock and the strings tend to be wound vertically, and the steel strings tend to be wound horizontally around a peg, like this. So what you can do if you are on a steel string guitar is buy what's called flat wound light steel strings. And what that is that the top 4 strings are essentially a round piece of wire that has a second wire wound around it. Flat wound is a round piece of wire with a flat wire wrapped around it. So when you use flat wound strings, they're softer because they're not as cutting as the round strings. You don't have a point, you have kind of a surface that you can push down on. If you're on nylon, the good news is that nylon strings are the softest guitar strings there are, so you're already in a great spot. The downside with nylon is that if you're looking to do worship style music or kind of acoustic-y guitar, you probably have the wrong guitar for that and you'll need to upgrade eventually, but it is a great starting guitar, so don't fret about it. Keep practicing, work on it, but if you are on a steel string and you're having trouble with those fingers, get flat wound strings and that'll help. So the second tip I would have, and this is really simple, so I did a video a couple weeks on beginner chords that you should learn. What I would suggest is as you're trying to play those chords, if you could bring your wrist like this versus like this, it'll help you hold those chords a lot better. So you want your fingers to be straight up and down on the strings as opposed to at an angle. Now there's a couple other reasons why you might be getting dead strings like this. One is that you might not be holding the string down hard enough. 2 is that you might not have that right angle on your fingers. 3 is that you might have another finger laying on top of the strings that's deadening the string. And then the 4th would be that your nails might be too long. So as you're practicing, you want to make sure that each and every chord sounds very clear and each and every string sounds like this. The third thing is to make sure that you are practicing things correctly every single time. If you make a mistake, go back and try it again from the top. What this does is that this ensures that you are not practicing bad habits into your playing. Because what would be super frustrating is if you're in a couple years and you go to a guitar teacher or you go to somebody and you're just riddled with bad errors. So make sure that you are practicing good and cleanly every single time. Make sure that your chords sound good and crisp. Make sure that your scales and your notes are ringing out for as long as they need to be. Practice correctly each and every time you play. Also make sure that you practice in tune, because what that does is that trains your ear to be able to recognize notes on the guitar. So for example, now, because I've been playing guitar for so long, I can pick up the guitar and play what I'm hearing in my head because I have that correlation in muscle memory between my head and my fingers. So my head knows what my fingers are doing and my fingers know what my head is doing. And that all comes because I've been playing in tune for years and years and years. So that same thing can happen for you. And then for a very small bonus tip, I would also suggest making sure that you are using the right type of pick. So the type of picks that you use are very personal and are largely based on preference. But there's a couple things that I found that have been helpful, and when I've gotten other guitarists to switch to them, they've really enjoyed it. So I really enjoy these Jim Dunlop nylon 0.73 millimeters. Again, that's going to be linked below. These picks are just really thin. They never break, but they are also a little bit stiff. So they're not like paper thin, but they'll give you a nice strum as you're playing. If you are looking for a good pick and you feel like your pick is just kind of irritating and hard to grasp and hard to get on, these are the picks that I would suggest. So I hope that video was helpful. Again, if you want to buy any of the flat wound strings or the picks that I talked about, you can do so in the description below. The price is the same for you, and I get a little bit of a kickback on it. I'm not affiliated with those companies in any way, so if you don't do it, not a big deal. But hopefully that's helpful. These are things that I picked up as I've taught and as I've played for years and years, and I think they'll be helpful for you in your musical journey as well. So if you have any questions, thoughts, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment below. I'll get back to you, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week.